Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to my channel Study with J.K. Durrani. Today our first lecture that is about the various authors of English literature, whether they were poets, whether they were dramatists, whether they were essayists, or they were prose writers or novelists. We will discuss about some important authors of the English literature of English time. Let's say the first, the number one, that is about the Geoffrey Chaucer. As we know that he is considered as the father of English literature. He was the man who brought English literature, who brought changes, and as well as considered as pioneer of English literature. He worked on the basis on the works of various works of English literature. Geoffrey Chaucer was born on, that is not confirmed, different periods, different sayings are there, references are there, but the year is clear that he was born on 1343 in London, whereas he has gotten, in this lecture just we will go for the birth, the death and the job. I mean, whether he is a poet, he is an essayist or dramatist or novelist, or he has worked for the prose fictions or something else. And as well as we will discuss that in which age this author has worked. So number one, Geoffrey Chaucer was born on 1343 in London, and whereas he was considered as a poet, he has written various poets as well as Canterbury Tales, one of the most, we can say, famous poem of Geoffrey Chaucer, in which he has described the real image, the real picture of that time, of the 14th century. So he was considered as the father of English literature, and he has worked at the age or the period of Chaucer age. That age was also known as Chaucer age because he was the main figure of that age who started work for English literature, and the work of English literature was started almost on 14th century. And he was died 25th January 1400 was the death year of Mr. Geoffrey Chaucer, and as well as he was died in London. And he was considered, he was known as poet and worked in Geoffrey Chaucer period. The second person, the second man, that is Sir Francis Bacon, who is known as the father of essay. He was an essayist, and as well as he has worked as Lord Chancellor. He was born on 22nd January 1561 and died on 9th April 1626. He was an essayist as well as a Lord Chancellor. Different essays he has written. His main essays could be of study, of love, and as well as of friendship. Main essays were written by him. That is why he is considered the pioneer. He is considered as the founder or father of essays. He worked at the age of Elizabethan age. As we know that Elizabethan age was one of the most important figure, the most important age of the English literature, where they had rebirthed the whole criteria, the whole system of literature at the age of the Elizabethan age. Number third, that is Edmund Spenser. Edmund Spenser is also a great poet. He has been considered and he has worked for English literature, and he was also the main figure of the Elizabethan age. Actually, in Elizabethan age, we had very famous figures. We had famous authors such as William Shakespeare was also in Elizabethan age, as well as Edmund Spenser was there, Sir Francis Bacon was there, Christopher Marlowe was involved in that age, in Elizabethan age. So he has really worked in that age. Edmund Spenser was born almost on 1552, and he died 31st January 1599. His age was quite short age he had. He didn't work, he didn't remain in this world that much, but in a short period he has worked really well, and he has been considered as the poet a great poet of his time, and that time was an Elizabethan age. Let's say to our next main figure, Christopher Marlowe. Again, a great figure, Christopher Marlowe. As we have gone to different dramas, he was known as playwright, mean dramatist, and as well as a translator, and as well as a poet. His main work, you may know, Dr. Faustus was a great drama, a great playwright written by Christopher Marlowe. He was born on 5th February 1564 and he died 30th May 1593. And he was, as earlier I said, that main figures were like Sir Francis Bacon, Edmund Spenser, Christopher Marlowe, and William Shakespeare, as well as Ben Jonson. They were main figures who have worked in the Elizabethan age. That is why that age has great importance in English literature. And time and again the question comes in the exam about the Elizabethan age. Different names are there of Elizabethan age. Shakespearean age is also known as Elizabethan age. Rebirth age, we can give the name, we can give the title to that age, because that age they worked and they rebirthed the main importance of English literature at that time with the help of writing, with the help of fictions, with the help of plays and dramas which they wrote, which they published. Christopher Marlowe, as I said, he was born on 5th February 1564 and died 30th May 1593. He was known as a playwright, being dramatist, as well as a poet and a dramatist, and he worked at the age in the English literature. Elizabethan age was the main figure of his time. One of the most famous personality, a national poet of England, that is William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare, actually the date, different dates are there. That is not confirmed, different references are there. But most of the people, they say different references says that he was born on 23rd April and as well has died on 23rd April. Mean the day and the month, they both are same, but the year is changed. He was born on 23rd April 1564 and died on 23rd April 1616. He was a poet, as we know very well, that almost 154 sonnets have been written by William Shakespeare. And as well as he was a great dramatist. He has wrote almost 37 plays in his great time, and one of the most famous playwrights, one of the most famous dramas and well-known sonnets were written by William Shakespeare, and he was also one of the main figure of Elizabethan age, and he was also one of the main personality of that time who rebirthed the whole system, or we can say the history of the English literature. Ben Jonson, a playwright, he was born on 11 June 1572 and died on 6th August 1637. He was considered as a playwright. As earlier I discussed it, he was also one of the main figure of Elizabethan age. John Milton, a great figure, a great poet of his time. He's one of the most famous poem, an epic poem, that is Paradise Lost. In every university, in every exam, whether you appear in university level or you appear in as a lecturer for the post of English literature or might be in another examinations, this question occurs. John Milton's Paradise Lost, that is as an epic poem or might be Saturn as a hero in Paradise Lost. So John Milton was a great figure. He worked at the age of for the age of new classicism. We will later on in our next lecture, that will be about the ages, that how many ages have come in the history of the English literature and which ages played vital role, which ages got benefits to the English literature. So John Milton was born on 9th December 1608 and he died 8th November 1674, and he was known as a poet, and he worked for the age of the new classicism. John Dryden, again he is also a great poet. He was also known as a critic. Different critics were written by him, and as well as he was considered as a playwright and as well as a translator. He has performed the job of translator too. Like Christopher Marlowe had worked as a translator, similarly John Dryden was also a translator as well as a poet, a critic, and a playwright. He was born on 9th August 1631 and died on 12th May 1700 was the year of his death. And he has worked for the age of the Restoration period, Restoration age. Next is Alexander Pope. Alexander Pope was known as a poet. He was born on 21st May 1688 and died on 30th May 1744. He was known as a poet and he worked for the age of the Augustan age. Henry Fielding was a novelist. Great novels were written for his own time, and he worked for the period of the Augustan age, where we can see over here he was born on 22nd April 1707 and died on 8th October 1754, and he was known as a great novelist, Henry Fielding. One of the most important famous poet, William Wordsworth, who was known for a poet for the nature, who loves nature much more than human being. For him, nature played vital role as compared to other poets. For him, love was nature, life was nature, peace was nature. He was born on 7th April 1770 and died on 23rd April 1850. The same date and month as Shakespeare had, 23rd April. The same day and month is of the death of the William Wordsworth, 23rd April 1850, and he was known as a poet of nature. This question might come in exams that describe William Wordsworth as a poet of nature. So he was known as a poet of nature, and he worked for the Romantic period. In Romantic period, the same thing was there. Nature got great importance, love got great importance. The main thing was not just religion. They said that the world, the nature, that plays very vital role. Just religion is not everything. You need to come out from the religion and come and have research on the worldly activities. The things are here, not inside the church, which we will discuss in our next lectures at the period of the Geoffrey Chaucer's age, especially were there. In Elizabethan age, different groups were made. Catholics were there, Protestants were there. We will discuss it later on. Charles Lamb was a great essayist. Different essays were written by Charles Lamb. He was born on 10th February 1775 and died on 27th December 1834. He was known as an essayist, and almost few figures, they played very vital role for the age of the Romantic period, such as William Wordsworth, Charles Lamb, and as well as two main figures are coming like P.B. Shelley and as well as John Keats. P.B. Shelley was also known as a great poet, as well as different poems were written by him. He was born on 4th August 1792 and died in Italy 8th July 1822, and he was known as a poet and also as well as he worked for the age of the Romantic. John Keats has a census poet. The main question comes always, John Keats has, like William Wordsworth was known for nature, John Keats is known for his census. 5 censuses are there. He was born on 31st October 1795 and died 23rd February 1821 in Italy. He was known as a poet and as well as he worked for the Romantic period, which we discussed earlier. Our next writer, that is Alfred Tennyson, who was born on 6th August 1809 and died on 6th October 1892, and he worked for the Victorian poet. Now, upcoming writers, or the poets, or the essayists, or the novelists, they are working for the Victorian poets, for the Victorian poetry, and Victorian novels. Victorian was the age where they got victories. We will discuss it later on in the lecture of the ages, in the lecture of the different ages, which we will discuss. And Charles Dickens. He was born on 7th February 1812 and died on 9th June 1870. He was known as novelist as well as an editor, illustrator, journalist, and as well as social commentator. He also worked for the Victorian age. Robert Browning was also a poet who was born on 7th May 1812 and died on 12th December 1889 in Italy, and that was also the main figure who was working for the age of the Victorian. Charlotte Bronte. He was born on 21st April 1816 and died on 31st May 1855. He was also a poet as well as a novelist who worked for the Victorian age. Similarly, Emily Bronte, she was a novelist. She wrote different novels, and she was born on 30th July 1818 and she died on 19th February 1848 and also worked for the age of the Victorian age. And next, that is a Russian author, Leo Tolstoy. Leo Tolstoy worked for the Victorian age, and as well as he was born on the 9th September 1828 and died on 20th November 1990, and he worked for the age of the Victorian age. And our next, that is Thomas Hardy. Thomas Hardy was a novelist who was born on 2nd June 1840 and died on 11th January 1928, and he was known as he worked for the Victorian as well as for the modern age. Next author, that is about the Oscar Wilde, who worked for the modern period. Now modern period has been started. So in modern period, in modern age, different authors, different workers were there, such as Oscar Wilde. He was known as a poet and as well as a playwright who was born in Ireland on 16th October 1854 and died in France in 30th November 1900. And he worked for the age of the modern age. George Bernard Shaw, a great poet, dramatist. He was a dramatist, playwright. Such as great drama was a play was written by him, Arms and the Main. Great drama. He got a title as well on the Arms and the Main. George Bernard Shaw, G.B. Shaw, who was born on 26 July 1856, born in Ireland and died in UK on 2nd November 1950, and he was also the main figure working for the modern age. Bertrand Russell, who was born on 18th May 1872 and died in 2nd February 1970. He was a British philosopher who worked for the age of the modern age. W.B. Yeats. William Butler Yeats was main figure of the modern age, who was born on 13 June 1885 in Ireland and died on 28th January 1939 in France, and he was an Irish poet. Different poems were written by William Butler Yeats, such as a great poem was written by him about the time that was the endings, and he worked for the modern age. Virginia Woolf, she was a novelist and as well as a writer, born on 25th January 1882 and died on 28th March 1941, and also worked for the age of the modern. Last three authors, such as D.H. Lawrence, who was born in UK on 11th September 1885 and died on 2nd March 1930 in France, and known as a writer and worked for the modern age. T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot was born on 22nd September 1888 and died on 4th January 1965, and known as a poet and working for the modern age. The last author, that is an Irish novelist, playwright, story writer, poet, translator, and as well as director, who was born in Ireland on 13th April 1906 and died in France in 22nd December 1989, and as well as he worked for the age of the modern. So these were the basic main authors of English literature who worked for different periods, as from the basic period from Geoffrey Chaucer till modern age. Various main authors, main poets, dramatists, playwrights, novelists, essayists, prose writers, those were all discussed in this lecture, their date of birth, date of deaths, and their functions, and as well as their distribution in different ages. Thank you so much. Hope so we will see in our next lecture.